Hey, what's up? This is TJ. Thank you for joining me here on my channel, and today we're going to be taking a deep look into some patch creation with the Meris LVX. Let's take a look at what we got over here. There's the star of the show. If you like the videos that I'm doing here, please do share them and subscribe. Click the bell on there, you know all what to do. I want to dive in to this video real quick. I want to explain a few things. First, you'll note that I have it paired up to my Boss SY1000. The reason why I'm doing that is because that has a nice acoustic simulation sound. And that's going to be the bass sound that I'm going to use for this video. Something nice and clear, so hopefully you can hear the effects really nice, okay? The other thing that I want to mention is I originally was going to do this video as a live video, but I wasn't able to really get the resolution on the screen well enough for you to be able to read it. So this pre-made uploaded video is going to have to do. But if you have any questions, feel free to put it into the comments, and I'll be happy to try to answer your questions. And speaking of comments, last, I guess, a week or two ago, I did a video that was original deep dive type video, and I got a lot of comments about how people were struggling with the pedal. So I want to go through a way to approach creating patches on here that I'm using, and hopefully that'll help you. I think the reason and the feedback that I got that people are having some difficulty with this pedal is that it's not your guitar, oriented pedal in the traditional sense where all the knobs are set to create different parameters. This is a very menu type driven pedal. It's also a modular pedal. And what does that mean? Modular pedal means that it is set up to have different modules throughout the pedal. And that's very similar to what you would see, say, in a synthesizer or Eurorack, like what I've got here, without all of the effects. All right, now one of the first things I want to look at in order to explain how that best works is we're going to take a look at the manual here. Bring that up. Now this is page 16 of the manual, and this is probably the most important page on here to really explain how the pedal is set up. Scroll down here. You have the inputs, and then you have in these blue boxes here the different locations of the modules that you can place them. And this is a very important part of the pedal. It basically gives you your signal chain. You can have it, the input right pre and dry, so whatever that module is, it'll affect directly from the input. Okay, and then the mix splits that up. It sends the dry signal down to the output, okay, to the bottom mixer. And then you have the pre-location, so whatever module that you place in here is going to go directly into the delay line. Then you have the feedback mixer, and then that is what it says. It will feed back through the delay line, so you get a nice feedback loop. And lastly, this is the post location, so that will affect everything that comes through the pedal except for the initial dry signal. Okay, that again got placed through here unless you put a module in the pre plus dry location. This is probably the most important way to understand how to use the pedal and how to approach it. Let me go back to that. So with that, what I like to do is I like to set up all of the different parameters on the pedal, the different modules, without the delay first, and then I'll actually try to set up the delay last. Okay, and that's what I have here. I've turned essentially the delay off. Now what I've done here, I had the feedback at 0, and I actually just have the time at 0 as well. You'll still hear a little bit of reverb with that. Some early reflections, but that's good enough for now. All right, and I'm going to pass right by the delay. Now, one of the secrets also with this pedal is you don't have to use all the modules in every preset. It's very tempting to do that. I know I try to do that, but you only want to use a few here and there to get a really tasty sound. Let's start with the dynamics, okay? All right, I want to put a little bit of compression. The default ratio, that's the amount of compression that is applied, is at 6:1. I think that's a little bit high. So I want to turn that down to 3:1. Give it a nice little bit there. And you'll see the default location is in the pre. Okay, remember that's after the dry. So I want to put it right on the dry signal. All right. Okay, that'll give it a nice balance for the remaining part of the given preset, and works nicely with that acoustic. Has a fast attack, gain. All right. Now this is important for a compressor. It has a mix control, particularly like when you're working with bass or something, so you might want to mix back some to the dry signal. I think that's also nice to do with acoustic guitar, so I'm going to mix some of that back. I'm only going to let this be at about 2/3 of the signal, so roughly what, 66%, give or take. So that mixes back some of the dry signal and still has a balance available with the compression. All right, next is the preamp. Now this is an acoustic guitar. Probably don't need a lot of preamp, but I'm going to put it on the op amp. All right, again, I'm going to put it in the pre-dry location. I'm going to turn the gain down because I don't want a lot of distortion. All right, I just want a little bit of a punch to the sound. Okay. And now the filter. Let's talk about the filter. Okay. I don't think I'm going to use it in this particular preset, but I just want to make sure I go over it. There are 3 different types of filters. There's a ladder filter, a state variable filter, and a cone filter. And then there's this parametric, which actually is just a shelf, a high frequency shelf. Or you can use it also as a bandpass or a low frequency shelf, I should mention. Alright, so let's start with the ladder filter. Why is it called a ladder filter? Well, way back in like the 60s or 70s, Bob Moog came out with the Moog synthesizer, and he developed what's called the ladder filter. The name comes from, if you look at the actual circuit design on a sheet of paper, it kind of looks like a ladder. Ladder filters tend to have a very warm quality to them. They're very, very sought after. You're in almost, all analog synthesizers have some type of ladder filter. And this one has a number of different, topologies. What does that mean? That means either low pass, band pass, or high pass. And I think that's true for all the filters with the exception of the cone and the parametric. All right, so I'm going to try the low pass. Now with the filter, it's just basically taking out the high frequencies. Ladder filters typically have a very narrow, gentle slope, I should say. So this is post, so that means that it's actually filtering out the signals that are going into the delay. Okay, if I was to put this in the pre, you're not going to hear anything unless I raise the frequency of the filter. Now you can hear how the filter works. So the other parameter is very important for filters is the resonance. The resonance is the peak amount at which the frequency, the cutoff frequency, it'll actually peak at that amount and give you a lot of extra, zing there, I guess you could say. If I was to turn that up, let's say, that'll give you that wah-wah type of effect. Okay, Okay, so if I take that and I put that in the pre-location, I've changed it so it's no longer affecting the dry signal. You're not going to hear it right now, but you will hear it when I turn the delay back on. So I'm going to leave it on this for now. Alright. And there's a spread, so that basically changes the amount of spread between the stereo effect. I believe that's what it is. One of the things with the LVX in the manual is not very detailed on what the different parameters are. So you got to experiment with it and listen very closely. I put it in the pre here just to give it an ear on how that's affecting it. If I change the spread to a large amount, let's see how that affects it. Definitely has an effect on the stereo field. Alright, so let's move on. Okay, so you have the different pitch types. Alright, now I'm going to take the filter so you can hear the pitch types better. I'm going to turn that off for now. And you have the pitch types. The first one is the polychroma. Now again, it's in the pre-location, so you're not really going to hear it unless you turn on the delay. Remember, I have the delay turned almost all the way down, so I'm going to put it back in the pre-location so we can hear how it sounds. Later on, when we turn the delay on, we're probably going to want to move that pitch into the pre-location or into the feedback location. Okay, so this is set to be an octaver, right? So if I was to turn the mix all the way up here, right, it should give me an octave effect. Some bass. Acoustic bass. Who knew that was going to happen? All right, let's turn it back down. Oh, I don't want it that far. All right. So that's good for some octaver effects. You can actually change the pitch. Let's say one of the things is it doesn't have a amount specific to, say, semitones. So you actually have to find the pitch. If I want it to be like a fifth up, that is. Sounds more like a fourth. You have to experiment with that to find the pitch that you're looking for. Alright, let me turn that back down to the 12, just to do that so we can go to the next one, which is the harmony. Now here with the harmony, you have to select the key that you're playing in. You have to select the two pitches of harmony, okay, and the scale that you want to use, right up here. Alright, so again, we have it in the pre-dry location just so that we can hear it. And here we have the key of C, and it's set to a third and to a fifth, so it should create a nice chord when I play a single note line. Okay, we go to the next page here. You have the ability to set the mix, and this has a really cool glide function. It's only on and off. You can't set the percentage of glide or the speed of the glide, but let's give that a try. So the pitch will actually glide to the next note. If I do a more extreme type of interval, like from an octave, it should take more time for it to actually reach that second note that I hit. That's what the glide does. We'll turn that off. And we're going to go back to a next type, which is the polychroma. Okay, the polychroma is pretty self-explanatory. It is just one page of parameters. And again, you can set the pitch there. Let's move on. The microtune is kind of like a chorus effect. It can be, or it can be more extreme. And it's good for chorusing where you don't want the LFO, you know, beating back and forth. It's pretty. But you can get more extreme with it if you set different pitches. Okay. Let's go to here. It only has one page for that given effect. So let's go to the monochroma. Okay. Okay. That again, you can set the two pitches for. Again, self-explanatory. All right. It has this lo-fi effect, which I think is pretty cool. Alright, that's kind of cool. That's being a cool effect to put into the feedback loop. Maybe just at a little bit of mix level to kind of give the delay a little bit of character. Alright, and that's the last type here. Alright, so I'm going to turn the pitch off just so we can go to the next module. We want to hear them individually. This is the modulate. This is where you're going to find your chorus. Okay, again, the default is the pre-location. The post location for this. So I want to turn it to the pre-dry location. Again, the default was the post. That's after everything. I want to send it back to the pre-dry just so we can hear it. This is the chorus. Now the difference between the chorus and the micro pitch is that you can actually hear the speed of the LFO. If I was to crank that up more, you can actually hear it. Okay. My favorite settings for a chorus are actually very slow speeds. So you just get a little bit of the modulation from the LFO. Alright. Now we actually have the flanger. Just going to go through these real quick. The dynamic flanger, again, it doesn't really explain this very well, but I believe this actually is dynamic based on the amount of amplitude that you give the pedal. So the harder you play, the more flanging effect you get, or vice versa. Right? So if I go real soft, all right, or if I play hard, it really punches through. Okay, that's really crazy. All right, this one has some different parameters though that is available to you. You have the direction of the flange, up, down. All right, or both. That's what I was looking for, both. All right, so I can get really crazy. This cassette effect is sort of a crazy effect. So if you really want to screw up your sound on purpose, that's the way to do it. It has these slips and crinkle controls and the static control. I think that these are a little bit high as default. Now that sounds pretty cool. Sounds like an old radio effect. That sounds pretty cool when it is like that. Again, this is also a really cool effect to have in the feedback loop of the delay. A little bit of that, it sounds really, really nice, and it'll cause your delay to have an interesting sound. We're going to go back into that in a bit. All right, so I'm going to turn the modulation off. All right, this is the mix for the delay. You can set the dry trim and the wet trim. Okay, looper. I'm not a big looper user, so don't depend on me to show you how to use the looper. The key thing about the looper, though, it is in the post location. Show you this again. It's the last part of the signal chain, and that when you use the looper, you can actually loop one sound. You can change the sound. It'll keep that loop going with that sound that you already had. You can try it with a new sound, so that's really cool. All right, and then we have the modifiers. All right, so we're going to go back to the delay, right? So I have it here on a digital delay, right? Let's give it a little bit of time here so you can hear what's going on. All right, say at roughly 1,000 milliseconds, give or take. All right, that is with zero feedback, so it's just giving me a slapback. And that's with the standard, most simple structure. Let's turn the feedback up a little bit. Okay. Now the cool things with the delays is that you can set the subdivisions of the two left and right channels based on the time that you actually have set up. So I can change the right division, let's say, to I want to change that to a triplet quarter. That's what I was looking for. And the left side to a half. So let's see what that sounds like. Okay, so that allows you to get some interesting rhythmic qualities. You use the tap tempo function to set the delay time. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can mess with that. You can give it a number of different types of divisions. Let's try the dotted quarter and an eighth. Turn the feedback up so you can hear it more. Okay, so that's with the most simple type of delay, the standard. All right, here we have the multi-tap. Now for here, I'm going to increase the delay time so you can hear it a little bit better. All right, and then we have like 9 pages with the multi-tap. You have the modulations, you have the tap levels, and the pans for each one of them. And here you also have the crossfeed, that being where the taps will crossfeed between the two different channels. Let's add a little modulation and create a little bit of sound with the delay. Okay, now before you do this, you might want to check some of the defaults here, because they're already set for defaults. Here, pan 1 is set for right in the center. Pan 2 is set to one side. All right. let's take pan 3, okay? Yeah. So it's already set to a nice spread, per se. So you might just want to leave that alone, or if you want to narrow it down, or you want to create something that's really funky, that works better with your mix, that's the way that you could do that. Let's go back to the structure. Try a different one here. This is the multi-filter. That's where the delay has its own filter. And this is a great way to create more, you know, ambient type of delays, because it's going to filter out some of the signal and actually create more of a, you know, room or cathedral type of effect that actually you can shape in terms of how it sounds. Let's see here. Again, you have the crossfeeds, and you can set the different filter amounts, and you can set their Q. Their Q is how wide or narrow the filter is. Alright, so again, they have some good defaults here. You can play with that. I don't want to go through all that. It'll take forever to do that with this video. Alright, I just want to quickly go into the next one, which is the poly structure. Okay, let's see what that sounds like. It's just beautiful. Alright, and the most important parameters with the poly structure is this left mod and the right mod, okay, because you can get a lot of really bizarre effects with that, and that affects obviously the left or right channel. So let's just mess with the right channel here first. Alright, the first one is off. Alright, and then there's this slow and channel. So each one of those is going to change the actual depth of the effect and how quickly it hits your ear. So that was the medium and shallow, medium and wide, fast and shallow, fast and wide. Okay, now the next ones are the FM modulations. These are some of my favorite because they create some really weird and wacky sounds. And you can use this to create some, you know, crazy like percussion type sounds. There's 3 different frequencies of modulation. There's 24, 48, and they have a different sound each one. Alright, and this is the 96. That's cool. You can create almost like vocal kind of effects, or vocoder type of effects with that. That's kind of nice. And then there's these pitches. Alright, octave down, minor up, or third up I should say. Different ones, I don't want to go through them all. Alright, there's a nice tremolo, fourth up. Take those, listen to them. Unfortunately, the manual doesn't really explain them very well, but listen to them, and that's the best way to really understand how it works and how it'll sound for what you're trying to go for. Alright, let's see what else we got here. There's an octave down, octave up. We'll stick with that one. to be really cool for sequencing type of effects. Especially if we pair that with the left side, right? So the left side is still set for medium and shadow. All right, I'm going to set that to octave up and down. Now, so it's it. That's fun. And here's a couple more parameters. You have the number of taps. There's 3 taps or 4 taps. All right. And then there's this dimension parameter, which is not explained in the manual also. Best way to understand what that does is just to listen to it. Now it's at 0. When you turn it up, it actually turns up the amount of, I guess, of delays that are actually being used. I think that's what's happening. Let's hear that. So you can get some really complex sounds with that. That's really fun. Alright, let's go back to the type. You have the poly. After the poly is the reverse, also another fun one. Alright, I'm going to turn up the divisions to larger notes so you can hear that a little bit better. A dotted half. Oh, a whole note, let's see. That's a lot of fun. Okay. Let's see, this just has 2 different parameters. Again, the crossfeed and the mod. Let's go to the next one. These are in series. So it's a series of delays. Again, the same type of parameters. And I think that's it, right? Yeah, that's it. Let's go back to the... Oh, I don't know. Let's stay with the filter, because I like the way that sounds. Okay, big delay there. Now, before I had already set up let's see, the dynamics, and I set up the op amp, and that was in the pre-location, the pre-dry location. Okay, I had also set up the filter. Okay, all right, and that was the ladder filter. All right, now I'm going to take the ladder filter and I'm going to take it out of the pre-dry location. I'm going to put it in the feedback loop. Okay. So now what you're hearing is the repeats, the feedback, okay? It's going through the filter, but the dry signal is not. And this is where the fun starts with this, because if I take that and I go to the modifiers, right, and I select the filter frequency as the assignment, and it's going to take me a second to get to there. Yeah, there's a lot of parameters. There we go. The filter frequency, the shape is a triangle, right? And I want to take the clock division, right? Let's make it an 8th note. Let's see what happens there. Now you can hear the filter bouncing around. Now let's give it a tap tempo here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a lot of fun. You can also set the minimum and maximum, which may be able to narrow down, you know, where the filter's going. Right, so if I give it at least a minimum, now that I set a minimum, the filter won't cut down so far that you won't be able to hear any of the signal. Fun. Now keep in mind, you can always go back. There's a lot of feedback. I want to reduce some of the feedback. So you can go right here, and now you can use the front knobs for the tactical view. Okay, so I can reduce the feedback, and then I can actually go back here and I get right back to where I was before. That's a quick tip for you to get around and change some of the parameters. All right. All right, that's a fun effect. All right, let's move on back, okay, to the modulations. Now before we had a chorus, right? Effect, right? And the chorus effect is in the pre-dry location. But I'm going to try something else here. I'm going to try the cassette, right? And I'm going to turn that down a little bit. All right, so it's not so crazy. This is in the pre-dry location. All right, so that's affecting everything. Let's try to put that back into the feedback loop. See how that sounds. So that has a really nice effect on the sound of the feedback. Okay, turn this up just a little bit, get a little more volume out of that. And now I can change the parameters. I can turn up the slip and the crinkle to give it a little bit more of a noticeable effect, even the static. Let's see what that sounds like. All right, it's like almost like a third person in the room with a different sound in the feedback loop. So this is an important thing to use with the modulation parameters, where you want to put them, the different modules that are within the pedal, where you want to put them, how they cross affect each other, and so forth. That's the really, really important thing I wanted to make sure that I talked about in this video. All right, so let's take the cassette. I'm going to leave that there because that sounded kind of fun. And all right, but I'm going to turn the mix down a little bit just so you can hear a little bit more of the original sound. So just like your guitar volume on your guitar, the mix control reduces the effect of the sound, and it actually can be very, very powerful to give it a much more subtle thing and make the sound overall more usable. Let's see, where are we going here? We have the mix, we have the looper. Okay. Well, I'm going to go back to the modifiers, right? And I'm going to go to the second LFO. Whoops, the second one here, excuse me. Right, that's LFO-B. Right, and I'm going to change the division to a full whole note. Right, and we have a ramp shape here. Remember before we had the triangle? That's all the way here. Let's change it to something fun. The 4-step up. So that means it's going to take a 4 steps up in time along the time there line. And now we're going to go to the modifier. Long way. I'll probably speed up the video for this. Alright, let's actually go to the filter topology. Actually, that'll be kind of fun. Now remember, the topology is whether or not the filter is either a low pass, band pass, or high pass filter. So if I change it to here and I change it to high note, it's going to change whether or not at any given time it's going to be a low pass, band pass, or high pass filter in the effects loop. So you can hear it's very subtle when I do it at a very slow speed. Okay, let's do it at a faster speed. Let's say 1/8 notes. All right, so that's one change that you can do there. Let's try something else here. All right, so here you have the mod, that being the cassette, if you remember that. Okay, now you're getting some crazy stuff. The crinkle. All right, I'm going to leave it on that. Now I'm going to go to, I'm going to skip, this is the envelope follower. I'm going to skip that. This is the sample and hold. Now what sample and hold is, if you don't know what that is, it allows the amount to change over time. You can set it to the clock division, okay? And it's a random amount, either high, low, whatever. You never know what's coming next. So if I set that to one of the modifiers, let's say the slip, for example, okay, this is the assignment. Quick, quick, quick. Say the slip, and I set it to a division, let's say the dotted eighth. All right. That'll vary that given effect. All right, this is the maximum it'll set it. Let's set it to a minimum. Say a minimum of about 50%. All right. I'm going to again turn the feedback up so you can hear it a little bit better. All right, so that's how the modifier works. So the thing that's key, and I'm going to finish the video with this, is to understand how to approach the pedal. Approach the pedal by setting your other modules up first, your chorus, your pitch, whatever it is that you want to do with the thing, and then go back to the delay, set the delay to the parameters that you want, and then set your modifiers to either the delay or to the other modules. And it'll allow you to get a much more isolated sound approach and what is going on with the pedal. When you want to try something out, you want to hear really how it sounds, you want to put it in the pre-dry location, the first location. And that'll allow you to really test it out and see what it sounds like. And then you can move it down through the chain into the different locations, that being the pre-location. Okay, remember that's different than the pre-dry location. That's the next step down the chain, or into the feedback loop, or actually have it as a global parameter, that being in the post location. Well, hey, that's it. That's all I really want to get into today. Otherwise, I could spend, hours, describing all the great things that the Meris LVX can do. Just want to thank you for making it through this far into the video. I hope it was helpful to you. If you do like the videos I do here on the TJ on the Road channel, check out tjontheroad.com. Click the bell, subscribe, all that stuff. You know what to do. Thanks so much for your support, and I will see you next time.